Hey everybody, Nicholas here, and you are listening to the Hound on the Run podcast. On this week's episode, I have a very special guest who you likely know if you've spent any time at all on YouTube watching Hound videos. He is a man I like to call the OG, the original gangster, HoundTuber. But before we get into the interview, I want to take a moment to highlight a very important and timely issue that is related to the hunting of mountain lions and bears in the great state of New Mexico, which happens to be where this week's guest resides. So real quick, let's head on over to the Howl for Wildlife website to learn about this issue and find out how you can take action to help, all from the comfort of your smartphone or computer. Okay, so in New Mexico, there's a call right now for support of bear and cougar hunting as a tool for predator management across New Mexico. Howl for Wildlife, I've talked about it before, but they're a great organization that really makes it easy for all of us to contribute and help with these legislative issues that directly affect us as hunters. So I'm just going to kind of read through this to, help us all get up to speed on what's going on and how we can help out. So here we go. Biologists with the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish have undertaken population studies and other research to support their recommendations in the proposed bear and cougar rule. It generally calls for a continuation of the hunting and management program as it existed in recent years. For nearly a century, hunters and anglers and trappers and recreational shooters have continued to stabilize conservation funding across the United States. Over 90% of the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish budget comes directly from sportsmen. New Mexico's hunters, anglers, trappers, and recreational shooters. Today, they contribute over $45 million per year toward conservation projects that benefit big game and non-game species alike. Responsible and scientific predator management programs are honored traditions and critical to the Game Department's funding mechanisms. From that perspective, it's alarming that we see a concerted effort by organizations to deluge the Game Commission with comments opposing the pending bear and cougar rule. Predictably, anti-hunting groups have seized the opportunity to create controversy over predator management as a whole. They generally don't point to any scientific basis for their opposition. They simply don't like hunting. It's time to call on the commissioners to reject this perspective in favor of continuing to follow the recommendations of Game Department biologists. Many anticipate that the anti-hunting groups are gearing up to mount an attack in the 2025 New Mexico state legislature on the practice of hunting with hounds. This would follow their success in the 2021 general season in outlawing trapping on public lands. Given the track record of anti-hunting organizations elsewhere in the country and worldwide, many fully expect that the effort to chip away at New Mexico's hunting traditions and at the principle of scientific game management won't stop with outlawing trapping or hunting with hounds. There's no appeasing these groups, and they won't quit. They must be defeated, or they will continue to try to eliminate New Mexico's responsible hunting programs. Thank you in advance for standing up for scientific management of game and for stewardship of our state's proud hunting traditions. So basically, I found out about this on Instagram, as I do a lot of these things, because everyone is, really good about sharing all this and spreading the word. But apparently there was a public comment period for this rule, and I think it was out of 200 public comments, 190 of them were from anti-hunters. So that kind of, an action call was kind of put out that we all need to email in as hunters to express our opinion that we want to see the continuation of bear and mountain lion hunting. So I sent an email right away, and just a quick 3-sentence email is all it really takes. But now Howl for Wildlife has actually stepped in here and made it a lot easier to even do that. So if we scroll down this page here, you will see they have a bunch of sample emails written out. So like this one, the subject line would be support our NMDGNF biologists. The North American model and the public trust doctrine define fish and wildlife resources as the property of the people to be managed by state and federal wildlife agencies entrusted with their stewardship. This model is the foundation of science-based fish and wildlife management, and we support legal bear and cougar hunting as an appropriate management tool. As caretakers of this trust, we believe you will advance sound stewardship policies that are guided by science over politics, emotion, and conjecture. So it goes on. And there's a bunch of different ones, so you can kind of pick and choose if you want to send your own email. Or, if you want to use Howl for Wildlife's format here. So basically, or you can write your own email here, or you can scroll down and you can use Howl for Wildlife's form that they provide for us that makes it super duper easy. So as you can see, so far there's a goal of 1,500 of these letters being sent. There's only been 687 of them sent. I'm sure a lot of other people have sent their own emails, so don't take this number as the final tally. But basically, yeah, go ahead and you can scroll down here and fill out your information, and then they will fire off this email for you. It just makes it super easy. So if everyone goes and does that, we're making our voice heard, which is something we really, really need to be doing. And even if you don't live in New Mexico, like I live in Oregon, you should do it anyway, because at some point, all this stuff comes around to all of us. So if we can all help each other out, I think we have a really good chance to keep these really stupid anti-hunting attacks at bay. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let's get into the interview. Okay, well, let's get started. So this is take 2 with Brett Vaughn of Born 100 Years Too Late. Thanks for coming on, Brett.
No problem.
So I think most of my listeners probably know who you are, because I think a lot of my listeners at this point have maybe found me from live streams and that we've been doing, and also just through YouTube. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, but you are the OG, the original gangster Hound YouTuber.
I guess I started it a long time ago.
I was thinking about that, and do you when you started posting Hound videos on YouTube, was there anyone else posting videos like that?
There was the occasional, like, I forget the name of them. They would like post a video, if they had a good run and, they caught a lion or something, then they would post a video, and where I more or less just posted whatever I did. I was
Gotcha.
living out, when I started, I was living off grid up there. And I was kind of interested in a lot of, that's where I learned a lot of the stuff, of the solar stuff and everything I set up.
Oh, okay.
So when I got interested in YouTube then.
Oh, gotcha. So you were living off grid up at your camp, right? And so you were hitting YouTube to like learn some of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, but I started making videos before that though.
Oh, sure. Okay. Gotcha.
I made some roping videos, and then I was always kind of fascinated with editing videos and stuff. And then there was a lion hunter, a hound dog trainer named Dave Wilson. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat.
Are you good?
Over in Arizona, and he did what they called a report card for like you'd send a hound to him for him to train, and he would do a video report card on that hound.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was an absolute character in his video, and then he sold his little CD or DVDs or whatever they were, and you could watch the report cards and then his hunts and stuff, and it was really he was an entertaining guy. I mean, he could it's a blue streak, and he was something to listen to, and I always thought that was pretty good. I thought I'd like to do that one of these days, and then
nice.
At that time there was not YouTube, and I discovered YouTube through the Odd Living and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Right on. Okay, so if you could, can you just tell the listeners what your YouTube channel, well, you got a couple of YouTube channels. What are your YouTube channels all about? Kind of how did you kind of just told us how you got started, but what can people expect moving forward from Born 100 Years Too Late?
Well, I've got the two channels, the Born 100 Years Too Late, and then I have the Interview Stories and Tales, and that's Tales with the Tails. And
like a dog tail.
I think, Born 100 Years Too Late, it started out as kind of a joke. It was CBV TV. And the old bulletin boards, they used to have the big game houndsman that Bruce Kennedy ran, or it was called the Old Shade Tree at that time. And
Yeah.
then there was a big game houndsman. And then we had the Coyote Gods,
Hmm.
and we had the Real Working Airedale, all these bulletin boards prior to Facebook or anything like that. And
Forums.
went by Cowboy Vaughn.
Yep.
Yeah, the forums, the bulletin board forums. And I went by Cowboy Vaughn. So when I started my YouTube channel, it was CBVT. So it'd be
Okay.
Cowboy Vaughn TV.
Gotcha.
And then, and I didn't even realize it because, I'd never been around a lot of hound hunters or lion hunters. And as far as hunting in snow and out of a vehicle or anything like that, I didn't know anything about it. And I talked to Steve Smith, which is a real famous dry ground lion hunter. And I remember him telling me, if you're not, what do you say, if you're not hunting south of I-40 or in lower than 6,000 feet and making 15-mile circles, on your horse or mule, you're not really dry ground lion hunting. And that just kind of stuck in my head. And I started doing that. And then somebody told me one time, said, "Oh man, you hunt the old fashioned way." I didn't even realize really doing it,
Okay.
and so I come up with that Born 100 Years Too Late because it kind of fit what I
Nice.
did,
I like that.
So, and then the future of that is I started, in YouTube, I mixed everything up. I might be hound hunting one day, and yet I might go on a pack trip, or I might do something else. And a lot of the guys that came on to watch the hound hunting and the lion hunting and stuff like that weren't really that interested in watching us go on a pack trip,
Right.
and vice versa. The guys who watch on a pack trip, they weren't interested in the lion hunting.
Hmm.
And then I also tossed in some interviews, because I got the Bruce Kennedy, the Warriors of El Gato interviews, and I put them on there. And then I did a few interviews of myself. I interviewed Tony White and Don Milton and David Heiss, and I did a little write up on Henry McIntyre. He's one of these old fashioned dry ground lion hunters out of Texas, and he always kind of fascinated me. And it just didn't mix all good. It didn't mix real good on that Born 100 Years Too Late. You're splitting your audience. You got
Right.
different people coming for different things, and then what it does is YouTube doesn't know where to send your videos to. So I decided to just do start that interview stories and tales, and I share the Dale Lee CDs on there. And then eventually I have some of them up there, but I'll put more of the Warriors of El Gato that Bruce Kennedy did. And then a lot of the interviews that I did and that I supplied to W Hunting Supply, I'll put them on there too. And then I got future plans to do some more stuff like that. And then of course, I've always enjoyed going live and being able to talk to people, seeing their questions, and having interaction with everybody. And then with you guys, with you coming on there, and Chris and George and John, it's been kind of fun. It's kind of a laid back deal. We just all kind of sit around and talk, and it's not formal by no means. So, but I enjoy that. So, those Monday Night Lives is something I can do on that channel. And then the Born 100 Years Too Late, now that I retired, it's going to be about just going places, pack trips. And I've always been fascinated with these kind of long rides, going, riding one mule and packing another mule and going for 7 or 8 days, and traveling every day, cutting across through the country. It's kind of crazy, but that's something that's fascinated me.
That's awesome. Very nice description. So yeah, I want to plug the Monday Night live streams. So everybody needs to hop on over to the Interviews, Stories, and Tales channel, subscribe, like every single video on the page, hit the notification bell, because that way, maybe if we go a little early, you'll get a notification when we go live.
And if you give us a thumbs down, we hunt you up.
Oh, we will publicly shame you for. We will figure out who did it, and it won't be good for you.
We got a program that'll identify the person who gives us a thumbs down.
Yeah, it gives us the IP address, and then we can convert that to GPS coordinates, and we have drones that will come and find you.
We'll be at your house the next morning.
That's right, and we'll steal your best dogs. All right, so we got the plugs out of the way. So today
Oh,
you have an interesting backstory specifically around dogs. You're going to be retelling me a little bit of that about a little bit, but
okay.
it's a great story. So you didn't get straight into lion dogs. It took a couple of different types of dogs before you ended up doing what you're currently doing with your dry ground lion hounds. So how did that happen? It started with Airedales, I believe.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad had an Irish setter in his construction yard, and she got bred by something. She had a bunch of little pups, and my dad brought me one of those pups home to the house, and I was just probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, something like that. And my grandfather told my grandfather, look, a little black and tan. The pup was black and tan, had long hair, and my granddad looked at him and said, well, that's like an Airedale. And I said, Airedale, what's an Airedale? And he said, well, they hunt bears with Airedales. And that just clicked. I thought, well, you hunt bears with dogs? And it just fascinated me. And I started reading everything I could about it. I mean, I think it was Patrick Duffy had a article in Outdoor Life magazine called Tough But Gentle.
Hmm.
And then Elliot Barker, he was on the Vermejo Ranch up in northern Mexico. He used a couple Airedales and a hound to catch lions and bears. He did the predator management on the Vermejo Ranch. And when I did everything in the world hunting with those things, we had out in Estancia. My dad had a quarter horse ranch. I started raising some of them then, and I bought a full blood male dog in town, and then I sent away to me, Arkansas, and bought what was the guy's name? Shoot, I can't remember. Raised Airedales there, and he raised hunting large type Airedales, and I had him ship me a female, and I had Peppy, and I raised some pups out of her, and I left. I got older, and everybody else went off to college, and I went off. I came to southern New Mexico to Las Cruces. Everybody else was going to NMSU, going to college, and I moved down here and went to work. I didn't go to school. I went to work and ended up getting married. I left the dogs at the ranch, and they ended up dying.
That's sad.
I didn't have any for a while, and then they got poisoned. I need to say that. And there was another rancher. They probably got to roaming a little bit, so I wasn't there.
Gotcha.
And there was nobody there to take care of them. And there was a rancher down the road and he probably thought they were wild dogs or something. But anyway,
bummer.
Yeah. So, and then when I was in Las Cruces, I remember I was working. We worked from block to block in town there, and there was a house that had a whole bunch of little Airedale puppies in it. And I got to talking to the Dr. Dale Barber. He was a kind of a strange dude. And I got to talking to him, and I ended up buying a pup from him. He had what they called the Caring Heart Airedale, or Caring Heart Foundation. And they raised Airedales, and supposedly they gave them to people who needed, like, therapy dogs, I guess.
Oh, really?
And this guy was, I don't know. I mean, looking back on it now, I think he was probably 3/4 con man. And he was, and he lived below the system. Everything he did was cash. And I mean, he was a very intelligent man. And but they had they had all these Airedales, and he knew how fascinated I was with them, and I always talked to him about them and everything. And he had a heart attack, and he called me up and said, "Hey," he said, "I'd like for you to take over the kennel." He said, "If if you don't get, I'm just have to have them all put to sleep." So I took 25 Airedales, built kennels, and the first thing I thought of was hunting with them.
Yeah.
And I tried everything in the world. I never could catch nothing. And I caught a rogue one time. I trained them with sense and everything. Now there were some good dogs in there. I mean, he had a big old male that was imported from Germany, and another one that was imported from South Africa. And
oh, wow.
And he had some of the best bloodlines a lot round, and he had some good dogs. It's just, this country, and unless you, Airedales just weren't really suited for
Huh.
the hunting down here, really. So
25 is a lot of dogs.
that's why. Oh my gosh, you should have been
Holy
me.
cow.
And then I had to raise pups just to, I wasn't getting much money back then. I had to raise pups just to afford to feed them,
Right.
and sell the pups. And then the deal was with the Caring Heart Foundation is and this is one of Dr. Dale Barber's, I think it was almost like a con, I guess it was. And he said, what you do is you take these dogs back in and you board them for free and you groom them for free. And my ex-wife would groom them. And he said, you'll get, because most people who had these dogs were really wealthy people. He
Okay.
said, if you charge, you get more in tips than you get because they would always tip. All we ask for is a tip. Say, yeah, we board. If you buy a dog from us, we will board it for you for free. All
Uh-huh.
we ask for is a tip. And we boarded them, and it was a lot of work.
Sounds
And
like it.
groomed them. My ex-wife would groom them and everything, and it
Gee
was
whiz.
something else.
Okay. So we actually, in one, I can't remember which episode it was. Taylor, it was one when my wife was on the podcast with me, and we ended up talking about Airedales for some reason, and we looked it up, and they were originally bred to hunt otters.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
I think they're crossed with they called them the Bingham Terrier. They're crossed
Okay.
with the water side. I mean, one of the thing, the big saying there was at one time they said they can do anything any other dog can do and whip the other dog if need be. And they
Okay.
are tough now. There are
Right.
some of them that they rough, and but they're smart. They've got a big brain. They're not biddable like a border collie or anything. They're not bad, and they're really really fun dogs to have. I mean,
Hmm.
I enjoyed them. I mean, there's guys who use protection work. There's guys
Yeah.
you can train them to herd. They've
Hmm.
trained them to herd. Retrieving. Some of them make really good retrievers. So they are a real versatile breed.
Mm-hmm. And they'll actually like follow a track with their nose. They'll actually like scent trail and everything.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
they'll trail a hot track. Yeah,
Okay.
especially once they get the idea
Sure.
that there's going to be something at the end of it. They're real game, or you get the right ones. They're real gamey.
I see. Gotcha. Yeah, I
So
know.
they'll, once they.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know that I've seen a lot of people like around the internet and stuff where they'll have a pack of like normal hounds like scent hounds, and then they'll have an Airedale with them. Do you know why? Like, what does that do for you?
Well, if you're hunting bears, it can add a lot of grit to your pack.
Okay.
I mean, you gotta,
Like get the bear to climb or something, or
yeah,
okay,
they'll real,
it's
they
pretty
want to
gritty.
put teeth on something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're pretty
Nice.
gritty, and they're, and and then they'll run them with lion hounds too. I
Mm-hmm.
seen, I think his bigger staff for one of those guys had an Airedale that he ran with his dogs, and once they figure it out, I mean, that's what I mean about them having a big brain. Once they
Yeah.
figure it out, they really catch. I mean, they're
Oh,
not
wow.
just, a lot of hounds, lion hounds, sometimes they get pretty content with trailing,
Right.
and
Right.
and you need that. You got to have that, and
Yep.
especially in this dirt. You got to have those dogs that want to pound out an old track, so you can get the lion. But it's nice to have something that wants to finish out that track and actually catch something. Those Airedales,
Sure.
they want to catch now.
Gotcha.
So
So after the Airedales, then you got into coyote dogs, right?
I got into coyote dogs. Yeah,
How did that happen?
I used to try to run some coyotes with my. I used to try to run some coyotes with my Airedales, but yeah, they're not fast at all.
Oh, really?
But
Huh.
oh no, they're real slow.
Hmm.
And my dad had a friend named Jack Bollock that uh, he had some big old stag hound. We call them stag hound, greyhound cross type dogs, and we had one too. I forgot to say that last time. We had one too when I was a kid. He was half Doberman Pit and half greyhound.
Oh,
His
wow.
name was we called him Ivan. He was a really neat dog.
Hmm.
Anyway, and Jack Bollock and my dad told me that Jack ran coyotes with those greyhounds, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then later on, you know what? After I got older, well, honestly, between when me and my first wife were getting a divorce, and I didn't have a dime or anything. And I rode a lot of horses at that time, and I rode some young horses and was training them and everything, and I roped quite a bit, and didn't have enough money to do anything. But I seen a greyhound for sale, a part greyhound for sale. They called it a coyote dog for sale in the Thrifty Nickel, a puppy, and I went and got her, and it cost me $30 or something like that. And I went and got her, and I called her Tazzy. And I used to go out and I'd ride those young horses. We got this big old Jornado del Muerto here. It's open country. I mean, goes on forever. And I just get on a young horse, and I drank a little bit back in those days, and give me a bottle of whiskey in my saddlebags and take that dog out there and chase jackrabbits.
Oh,
And
nice.
then try to chase coyotes too. And then one thing led to another. Then pretty soon I thought, well, and coyotes, and I get another coyote or another dog. And then I got David Heiss got me a really good dog. And the problem we have in this country is that there wasn't, it's not like back in Nebraska or Oklahoma or, some of in the panhandle of Texas where they got a lot of open country where they can dive and jump those dogs out of a jump box
Right. Yeah.
and catch coyotes. I'd go out on the circle pivots they had out here in the Uvis, and I would catch some coyotes out there that way.
Okay.
But those dogs have to be sighted. They have to stay sighted to be able to catch.
So I mean, they got to see the game.
They got to see it. They can't be it can't be too brushy.
No exceptions.
Or they can't catch it. Well, I imagine there's probably some, I guess. There's some guys who run some of those run-in type dogs, run-in walkers or trigs or something like that, and on coyotes, I believe, and they'll run some hounds in there, and they can probably finish out a race. I don't know enough about that to know how it works. Yeah,
sure.
But so then I started. At that time, this was still before YouTube or Facebook or any of that. There used to be a bulletin board or a forum they called the Coyote Gods. Okay. There was an old guy that ran that thing named John Henry, and he was using Airedales, and he would toll. They called it tolling coyotes in. So they would call coyotes, and then those dogs were trained to go out and engage the coyote and bring the coyote back in to be shot.
Yeah.
And we didn't, at that time, we didn't have Fox Pros or anything.
Okay.
We made our own. With an MP3 player, and a Zodden remote, and Honey Stewart converticall. And we made our own remote calls.
Okay.
And I thought, man, I said, if you have a dog that just tolls a coyote in, why in the world can't you just use these dogs to go out there and actually just catch the coyote?
Right. Makes sense.
So I started doing that. And
did that work?
I started doing that, and sometimes. I mean, I found out that first dog I got, she could catch a coyote, but she wouldn't bite one. She wouldn't grab a hold. And then those other dogs, I got that good dog from David, and he helped. I got another dog named Poke, and Poke was really wicked fast, and he could run rough country. Yeah, and he wasn't a big fighter, but he would catch them, and Festus would get there, and he would throw at the coyote, and it was fun. I got her, and I did all kinds of things. I'd go out there at night in the Uvis. We call it the Uvis. It's a bunch of circle pivots.
Okay.
And I go out there at night with a spotlight, and I'd put that call out in the middle of out in a pivot, and then I'd drive off, and I'd let that call go for 30, 40 minutes, and then here I'd come back with my spotlight and the dogs in the jump box, and trip those dogs out on a spotlighted coyote. And
okay, so you actually did have like a truck with a jump box and everything.
Yeah, later on I got one. I got a truck with a jump box on it, and then I started going down close to Mexico, and that was right when I first got my first Fox Pro remote caller.
Okay.
And I said that's where the best. They had a lot of coyotes down there before they flew the plane. A lot of that was private country, and they'd fly an airplane or a helicopter and shoot coyotes out of that. Oh. And after that, it was hard to find a coyote. But before that, you could go out there, and the coyotes were thick.
Wow.
And shoot, I got where first I'd go out and set up the call, and then ride my horse back into the brush and get the dogs. And those dogs got where they figured out that call. When that call started going off, those dogs started looking for a coyote. I did that, but then after a while, I wouldn't even go set the call out anywhere. I just hang it by the saddle horn and turn it on and ride. Okay. And I'd ride down through there. And that call going off. Wah, wah, wah. We're riding down through there, and pretty soon you'd have a coyote cross, just cross, curious over what going on and get those dogs on him. And it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Now, those are some big dogs. Like, I don't know if you haven't looked at, like, for people who haven't seen them, I've never seen one in person, but I've looked them up and I'm friends with Seth Hall. And so he's told me a lot of stories about David Heiss, and, show me pictures of his dogs. Well, and I saw you have an interview with David Heiss on your channel, right?
Yeah, I went over and interviewed him.
And you show some of his dogs and
quite
stuff.
A while. Yep.
What does one of those dogs weigh?
I think Fest, that big yellow stag I got, he came out of Nebraska.
Okay.
And he was 90, 95 pounds.
Gotcha.
He was a big
Some
dog.
of them get over 100 pounds.
And had a lot. Oh, yeah. There's some that are that big. Now, like Festus, he was fast, but what he had is he had what they call distance. I mean, he could run for a long ways.
Okay.
For a big dog, And now Tazzy was probably the fastest of the bunch. And Tazzy would use her nose. She could coyote, on the air, and get it. And jackrabbits. She was good on jackrabbits. She just wasn't very good on coyotes. She wouldn't bite one. She'd run up there and just touch it behind. It could kind of get frustrating because she could catch them, but she just wouldn't.
Weird.
She wouldn't grab a hold. And then Poke just fast, real fast. I mean, he could go catch something. He could run the rough country and keep his feet pretty sound. And he wasn't a big fighter. He would fight. He wasn't, he wouldn't throw to coyote. He would grab a hold and a little bit, but he'd do just enough. So I had another dog named Joe, and he was a big old Appaloosa looking greyhound. We called it an Appaloosa, and Joe was just, he wasn't very fast, but he was a wicked throat dog. I mean, he would just. Well, I caught a lion with him.
I was gonna tee that up for you because you went. So yeah, how did you go from these coyote dogs to the lion dogs?
It all happened about the same time I started videoing the dogs and everything. I come from Dave Carlson and watching those videos. It's been a long time ago. My memory. I hope I have things chronologically correct, but I told my wife, I said, "Give me one of those cameras, one of those little videos." When she went to Walmart, I said, "Grab me," I don't even know if it was Walmart. I said, "Buy me one of those little video cameras." I said, I'm gonna video these dogs, how I call coyotes in, because I had a lot of people asking me how I did it too. I said, I went out and I got the videos on my YouTube channel, and I went out and I'm videoing, I'm riding a Longhorn Googles, and I got all those stag hounds with me, and I did that the exact same evening that my wife brought that camera.
Oh, wow.
And I went out and I had the calls, and you could see how the dogs in the video, you can see how those dogs would sit and watch. When I set that camera out, that Fox Pro out there, we'd ride back in the mesquite, and you could see those dogs. They're just scanning, looking for that coyote to come through. And we like 3 stands and nothing came in. And then that one stand, the dogs took off, and I didn't see it. I thought we were on a coyote. And in the video, you can see, I mean, I'm running through the brush on Googles. We're jumping mesquites and greasewood, and talking to the camera and holding the camera as we're riding. And I say in the video, I said, well, I said, we won't have much video of the chase. We should get some of the fight. And when I ride up on them, they got a lion caught on the ground. And I said, "Oh, it's a lion." I said, "Well," and I said, "I gotta get him." I have no clue why I said I gotta get him. Probably because I was scared the lion might hurt my dogs, but not.
Right.
It wasn't a very big lion, and Joe, big old rough dog, and when he grabbed that lion by the throat, that was it.
Gotcha.
I mean, I still shot the lion.
Oh, you did? Okay. I watched that video.
It's kind of a something else, huh? It's a little different.
Seriously, have you heard of anyone else catching a lion like that with sighthounds?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I haven't.
I don't think so.
Seems like one of those rare things.
It was pretty rare. It was a surprise to me. And I think I told you this story before, and I probably shouldn't repeat it because people are going to think I'm crazy. But this is the honest truth.
I
This
believe you.
is the truth. It was 2 weeks prior to that day. I was out there almost within 2 miles of where we caught that lion. And I was down through there with my dogs and everything, and I had to stop and pee. And I stopped, just a little old dirt road, and I stopped and walked off the road a little ways by this brush. If you ever look at some of those old videos I got, there's a lion, little stuffed lion that's on the dash of my truck. Well, when I went over there to pee, stuffed lion was right there underneath that bush. I have no idea where it came from. And
That's
everything like
crazy.
that happened. And then the lion I caught with hounds is a friend of mine, Greg Ball, had a really good dog come from Rick Dickerson down in Texas. And we went in, a rancher called us and said they had some fresh lion tracks on the ranch. And we went up there. Me and Greg called me and said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I said, "Sure." And so we went up there, and the dog started trailing, and we had that one dog started trailing, and I went up on the backside of the mountain, got up there with that dog, and Greg went back down to get his tracker, the old beep beep system.
Okay.
And it was like carrying a banana crate around with him, and he was scared dogs were going to get away from him, and I stayed there with that dog. And I stayed with that dog trailing all the way down that mountain, all the way across the top of that mountain, trailing that lion. And I remember thinking, man, this is the funnest thing I've ever done in my life,
Man, that's awesome.
watching that dog trail that lion. And we ended up, we trailed off from Greg and Phil and those guys. They come back up there with us, trailed off the edge, and there wasn't many trees or much brush. It was kind of a big old rocky, hill. And the dog just quit trailing. I mean, just quit trailing completely. And I remember telling Greg, I said, "Man, we ought to be able to just see that lion somewhere from up here." And I got to climbing around in those rocks, and I climbed down below, and I climbed down on a little old ledge, and I was walking down that ledge, and I heard up above me, and I looked, and not 5-6 foot up above me, that lion was in a cave hole right there, or just in a little slot, not much of a cave.
Oh man.
And
Wow.
I know, a big old nice Tom too.
Wow.
It was fun.
Crazy.
So,
And you said that was like right
yeah.
in the same area where you found that little stuffed lion.
Oh no, that was where I caught the lion with the stag hounds, is where that little tough lion was.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I see the
This
connection.
isn't one we caught with, the first one we caught with scent hounds.
I see. Okay. So
I
that was your
ruined after
friend's,
that. I thought, man, that's what I want to do.
but that was with you didn't have your own dogs at that point.
No, that was with Greg's. Yeah.
Okay.
He had that one good dog. He had a couple dogs, but he had one really good dog that came from
Gotcha.
Rick Dickerson. Rick Dickerson's a USDA guy. He used to be in Arizona. Now he's over in Texas, I think.
Okay.
That dog, her name's Maze. I think they called her Maze. She was a good dog.
And then
yeah,
you ended up getting you bought like a full pack of dogs shortly after that, right?
Yeah, about 5 hounds. I went, and of course, Dave is the one who told me about them. David Hodge. I mean, he knows where every dog in the country is. And I had a Polaris Sportsman, a 4-wheeler, and I sold it. I had that, and I had a wad of cash, and they had those dogs for sale. I went down Texas and bought all 5 of them.
Nice.
So that's where they had a lion in a cage.
Oh boy. Wow.
So I asked him, I said, how many lions they been on? And they said, well, they haven't been on a lot of lions, but they've been on one lion a lot of times.
Oh man, that's funny.
So
crazy.
Yeah,
that a lot of that kind of stuff happens in Texas. I think they say like there's more there's more tigers in captivity in Texas than there are in the rest of the world.
Yeah, and lions, they're just considered, they're like a coyote in Texas. They're not they're not a game animal.
Right.
So those guys kind of do what they want,
Gotcha.
And now, Texas is a different world,
Yeah, sure is. It's a nice place. I haven't spent much time there, but I guess I've only driven through it a couple times. I don't know. So
quite a bit of work down through Texas.
Oh, really? Gotcha. Now, so you said that guy, he had one really good dog. What makes a good dry ground lion dog?
I think that, that cold nose and wanting to trail. I mean,
Okay.
I think you can't. I don't think in this country I don't think you can. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get many lions if you don't have that dog that's going to work out that cold track, that rough track.
Yeah.
And because it's, even overnight track in this country can be old. It can be hard to trail, and you got to have that dog that just really wants to just knuckle down and trail,
Mm.
and get you to where the other dogs can go ahead and help, and then pick it up and go when the time comes. I've got one video. I shared it on that live stream,
Yeah.
and I was trying to explain. I caught that lion in the cave. Then I came back 20 hours later, and right from that cave started that lion. I watched that lion leave that cave that day before, and then I came the next morning, got those dogs on it, and I tried to in the live stream. If you remember, I tried to pause it, and I said, "Now this
Yeah.
dog, look what she's doing, and look at what the other dogs are doing."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my P dog. She'll trail. She won't ever quit. I mean,
Mm.
she just will trail, and she was trailing that lion, and she's pretty vocal. She'll bawl on that track, and the other dogs, you can kind of see them start to lose a little bit of interest, and then she bawls, and they come back to her.
Okay.
Well, she's the one that kind of kept it all together, and we found where that lion till the track got better, and what I assumed was the track. We trailed the 20-hour track to where he spent the rest of the day, and then from that was an overnight track, and then we trailed that lion up and caught him. Now Pete did the work of getting us to that point, but the lion was caught, and it was probably like 15 minutes later before P showed up because she was still trailing.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
a lot of guys would
Huh.
really frown upon that,
Sure.
because they'd say she's straddling a track or not really,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they got to pick their head up and move. But I believe, I don't know, I probably get a lot of people mad at me, but I believe that those dogs that'll pick their head up and run a track are a lot more common than those old dogs that'll just sit down and grind on an old track.
Right. Well, yeah, because I mean, you wouldn't even have gotten to that point where they got it jumped without her just grinding it out. So,
And she wasn't the only dog that was working it.
uh-huh.
I mean, Booger was up there working it, but and Al and Uno, they were all working it too, but they were a little quiet on it. And
Sure.
I like her because she'll open and might be a tad babbly sometimes, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
she's babbly on the track, and so she keeps
Sure.
everybody interested. And so it's real good
Gotcha.
for young dogs. They
Yeah.
stay hooked because she's making things sound exciting, even though it could be just an old cold track that's not that exciting to most dogs.
I see. So, we're talking about like what makes a good dry ground lion dog. No quit, and just sticking working that track until basically you tell her not to, right? Or you're like, we're leaving. You want her to just keep going until you say so. And then you're saying that it is helpful for them to be vocal on the track, because I know, like, out here,
I like that. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I know there's always personal preference, but like, out here bobcat hunting, you hear about a lot of people wanting a dog that's more silent on track, because, I've heard people explain it that, you're kind of like almost like sneaking up on that cat and not giving it too much of a head start. Um, but you're kind of saying the opposite, where it's like you need that dog that's more vocal to keep everyone kind of together as a pack, so you can get it to just keep moving it along.
Yeah, I think she kept them all interested,
Gotcha.
in what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It
Kind of
just seemed like
leading from
that's
behind. You know that expression, like kind of leading from behind.
yeah.
Like almost like
She was
like a cart driver with horses. You're kind of steering from behind. I kind of picture that a little bit.
she was just kind of holding everything together. It seems like when things got tough, when things got tough, and a lot of dogs probably wouldn't have the patience to just sit there and grind it out. and yet she would still make it sound like it was exciting, you know.
Sure.
And that, I don't know. I like, you know, of course I'm different than a lot of people. I love to cold trail. I mean,
Yeah.
I love to watch dogs cold trail because it's, you know, it's slow paced and it's just watch those dogs work. And I won't keep a dog that won't cold trail. Now,
Okay.
all my dogs will cold trail, but not probably as good as she will. I mean,
Sure.
she'll work until, I mean,
And you still have her, right?
until it, oh yeah, she's
Okay.
10 years old
10.
now.
Wow.
But I got pups out of her. I mean, all my dogs go back to the dog that brought all that was old Bo and Susie, and they said Susie was just amazing cold trail dog. And I think that's kind of where that came from. And of course, Booger, he'll cold trail, and he might get lazy sometimes on the track, but you know, Booger's the real deal. I mean, he'll cold trail and he'll go to a lion, and because he's done it a lot of times for me.
Okay.
Not a lot of times, but several times. I haven't caught a lot of lions. I hunt terror country, but
That's
the
okay.
ones
That
I've caught
leads
have
me
been.
to the next thing I want to talk about. So I I kind of want to ask you like how I want to kind of talk through like kind of step by step of how a typical dry ground lion hunt will unfold for you. So where um first of all, like how do you decide where you're going to go?
Wow, that's a good question. Most of the time, I just wake up in the morning if you know when I have time, and I think, well, I haven't. You know, you have saddles or certain ridges or like canyons or arroyos or draws where you know lions travel,
Hmm.
and so you just kind of decide which one you're going to go check
Okay.
and go check that. And that's something that I'm, you know, I ha- I just haven't been good country
Okay.
to have, you know, access to that many lions.
Oh,
And
sure.
so I just get up in the morning and I just decide, well, you know, I haven't been up there in Broad Canyon for a while, or I haven't been up on, you know, whatever ridge, and I'll go try to. I have these circles made out that I make routinely,
Okay.
and I go and I hit those circles and hit those big saddles, you know, where I know a lion will walk through, and different places like that. And you get better at, even in places you haven't been, you get better at getting a feel for the land and knowing track.
Okay.
But
So what
yeah,
kind of
and there's guys that, you know, like
oh, go ahead.
there's guys good at, I mean, and then, you know, a lot of guys will, you know, depends on what you do. I don't drag roads or anything. I have in the past, but a lot of guys will drag, you know, drag roads with build a drag and, you know, have a four-wheeler or a UTV or
Mm.
a truck and drag arroyos or drag dirt roads and hunt just like snow, you know. Then
Oh,
you're
right.
just going and trying to find an overnight track.
Okay.
But
That sounds like a ton of
you know,
work.
yeah, I get tired.
Prep
I mean,
work.
I like to get on my mule and ride circles. I mean, that's what I
Okay.
like to do, because even if I don't hit a lion track, I have a good time riding through the country and seeing it, and watching the dogs, how they interact with stuff, you know. And, you know, I caught a fox up there here. I got a video of it, and I thought we were trailing a lion, and we might have been trailing a lion. And they popped that fox up. Heck, I don't know. We trailed for a long ways, and then I seen that little fox run across the arroyo, and they treed it. And you know, I didn't shock them or anything like that. I didn't raise them. I just
Sure.
looked at the fox and started calling them. Said, "Let's go home, boys."
Sure. Well, I mean,
But
it's hard to say, like, you
um,
know, like you're saying, they could have been trailing a lion up until they saw, you know, oh, there's a fox. Let's bark at it.
yeah, and where I was hunting, there's no way to find a track in that country. I mean,
Right.
it's nearly impossible. So you kind of got to trust your dogs. And a lot of these guys that get on lots and lots of lions, and they're in good country, and they get a they're running off kills, you know, ranchers
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever, or the USDA guys, they get phone calls and they get to go run off a lot of kills. They get really broke dogs.
Yeah.
Guys run cameras. I mean, a lot of guys run these cell phone cameras. They're not legal around here anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
they get pictures, you know,
Yeah.
and especially outfitters and stuff, you know, they're trying to make a living doing it. So their
Right.
success rate has to be pretty high. So they use whatever, you know, whatever they can legally do
Sure.
to improve success rate. Where I'm not as concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the experience, you know,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah. Yeah.
dogs. I love to work with the dogs.
Gotcha.
So
Um, is there, okay, so you're going to go out in the morning. Well, you said you just get started pretty early, right?
I try to. I don't. I not as early as I should, but I should be out there riding. 30 minutes before daylight.
Okay. Do you have like a specific routine, or is there anything you do to prepare for a hunt, like the night before, or do you have like a little ritual you do or anything like that?
Just typically, I mean, I have my horse trailer, and I have it set up with a solar system where I
Mm-hmm.
keep all my collars inside my trailer charged. I got everything
Okay.
set up where I can charge, keep all
Yeah.
my collars charged and everything, and then I try to have my trailer hooked up and everything. And here lately, the last year, 2 years really, I started taking a pack mule, and mainly just to carry some supplies and carry water, so
Okay.
I can, I sometimes I thought we get on a track and we would rail, and then it might get, down here in this desert, about 11, 12, even in the winter time, it might get pretty hot, and you might be running or trailing some pretty dry country. There's no water, no stock tanks or anything like that. So it might improve my chances of getting caught up to the lion if I could haul some water and
Oh, okay.
get those dogs.
So is that what you
Keep them
do?
going for another hour or so.
You haul like a bunch of water
I
with you?
started doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got those bags that you hang. I hang 'em on my sawbucks, and then I started packing and going and staying the night. I've done that a few times. Carry all my stuff. I enjoy the heck out of that. And go take the dogs and instead of making one 15-mile circle, have a big, you know, have a 30 or 40-mile circle that you
Oh, wow.
make and you spin them out there somewhere.
That is awesome.
I enjoy that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, this is might seem like a really weird question, but when you make these circles, do you go clockwise or counterclockwise?
Never even thought about it. I just just have my kind of routine.
Uh-huh.
I just hit a place and go and
Sure.
try to, like I said, I try, typically I'll start off and there's a big little road that I ride up through, and then I'm trying to think, like there's a place that has we call it a tanaka, that has a natural pool of water in the bottom of it. And I go by that place, and then I go up on top and I hit like 2, 3 saddles that I know about,
Okay.
and then circle back around another arroyo. But whether I'm going depends on the lay of the land. Now you think about it, I never even thought about that. I typically go clockwise.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I never even really thought it's not a plan. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
That's funny.
but
Yeah, I've
yeah,
never. So because I've heard about, I've heard you talk on your videos about doing circles, and that's a pretty common. That's like kind of like a classic way that you guys on mules do it, right? And like Dale Lee, like all those guys, they go and ride circles, right?
That's what a guy says,
Mhm.
Dave Carlson, I was talking to him about that, and I said something about circle, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "I quit riding circles." He said, "Now I ride figure eights."
Oh,
I don't know why he
that's
said that.
hilarious.
I think he was just joking with me.
Maybe
But
be really innovative and start riding triangles.
yeah, there you go. Which, we just call it a circle. It don't matter
Sure.
what shape it is. Just
Right.
gonna go out and make a
Go
circle.
big, do big
And
loop.
that's what we all talk.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about. Said, where were you yesterday? I went out and made a big circle.
So I actually, because I've heard you talk about it on in your videos. I kind of this last hunting season, I would try to do that in my own way when I'm hunting. Like I hunt like timberland, so there's tons of logging roads everywhere. Like there's lots of roads you can go any. It's easy to get around, and so when I'm planning out where I'm gonna go, I have been doing like basically that same concept. I'm gonna do a big circle in this one 10 mile by 10 mile little area, and then I'll go. And then once I've found that really helpful for, so if I lose, if we lose the track or whatever, sometimes I'll go and hike down into that wherever they lost it. I'll go and do a big circle just like that. And yeah, a lot of times they've it's just like a very efficient way to cover ground.
Yeah, just anything come in or out of that circle, hopefully
Right.
you know, and and what you want really is to be able to trail an overnight track.
Yeah.
So that's what you're trying to hit, is that overnight track.
And then when
I
you're
mean,
riding these circles, so you're basically just
nice.
you're looking for these landscape features to go and kind of check out. And so you said arroyo and saddles. What the heck is an arroyo?
It's like a little canyon, a little
Oh, okay.
arroyo. It's just a little canyon. It's just a little draw that runs water, or that when it rains will run water.
Oh, okay.
We call them. It must be a New Mexico or southern terms. Just an arroyo. It's a Spanish word, I guess, Mexican word.
Okay. Okay.
But and then what's good about the arroyos too? Most of them are sandy bottom, and you can see a track in them.
Oh, nice. Oh, because that's where water's flowing
So
through them, and okay, so there is actual
no,
sand.
there's no water. No, there's no water running through them most of the time. Just after a real hard rain,
But it's like a
they'll
dry
flash
creek
or
bed
run.
kind of thing.
That's exactly, yeah. Dry
Oh,
creek red, sandy creek red.
oh, gotcha.
Has no
Okay.
water.
Um, what is the longest successful track you've run? Like, what's the longest from first strike or first little tail wag, they're getting excited, to lying in the tree? What's the longest one you've ever had in terms of time?
Well, caught that tom up in the Better Mountains. I call them the Better Mountains. It was 2 days. I mean, we
Mm.
hit the track the day before in the morning, and we trailed until about 2 o'clock that afternoon. The dogs got hot and tired, and they quit, or we quit. Oh, and well, I circled around to a saddle. When they quit, and I knew that a lot of lions walked through this other saddle, and we circled back around to that saddle on our way back to where the truck was parked.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit that saddle and we started trailing. And and I didn't have P with me, I don't think. But anyway, Booger started trailing backwards on that track, and I found the track on a little old game trail, and that's where I knew the lion had come around that hill and come into that saddle. But I pulled Booger, so I knew where he was going, and the dogs were tired. So what I did is I just stayed the night. I
Oh,
went
okay.
I went down and I went back to the truck and set up a camp, and I stayed the night. And we got up the next morning, and I drove and I rode. I split that country in half in that saddle. I knew where the line was going, so I split it in half, and we
Okay.
hit the track, and then we trailed down into where that lion had killed a big old cow elk that night,
Oh, wow.
and we trailed down to there, and we trailed off of that kill, and it was pretty fast off of that kill. I don't
Okay.
know how far behind the lion we were, but they went another probably 2.5 or 3 miles,
Hmm.
probably before they cut that lion out on the bluff. Big old nice Tom, big old
Nice.
Tom.
What is
And
the
so I don't know how far that was.
okay? But it took you two full days to
2
put it
days,
up.
yeah, I was pretty
Wow,
proud of it,
that's awesome.
yeah, because I got a video of it. I got the video on my YouTube channel.
Okay,
So it's pretty good because I got to
nice.
video a lot of the where we went and the trailing and everything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I can put a link to that one because that sounds that kind of sounds like it
Yeah,
kind of
it was fun.
encompasses everything we've kind of talked about what this whole like your whole hunting style is.
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
the fastest
yeah, it was
race?
cool.
What's the shortest?
The last lion that's the last Tom I caught the first day. I stopped to kill a rattlesnake. And the dogs were trailing. They were up there trailing. And I don't have the best broke dogs in the world. And I thought, well, they might be trailing a fox. Just looking at them and watching them, I thought, that might be a fox. But I had to stop and get off my mule, and I went over there and had a big old rattlesnake rattling, and I shot him, cut his rattles off, and got back on my mule, and I could hear the dogs on the other side of the hill still trailing. And I went over there to them in cold, and I had 2 dogs, Iris and Al. Al's going to he's making a super hound, and they went, I don't know, not no more than 30 yards up the hill right there, some big old rock bluffy stuff, and I mean, all of a sudden, here come that lion out of those bluffs, a big old Tom, and those dogs right on his hind end.
Oh man,
And I mean, that lion didn't run 15 yards in front of my mule.
really?
Bah, wah, wah,
Dang,
wah. Here we go. It was cool. That
that's
was fun.
awesome.
So that was probably, we were only, I mean, probably 45 minutes into our ride,
Okay.
and they jumped that lion. That was probably the
And
fastest.
then
And I've trailed, I've trailed 2-day-old tracks that I know that I trailed through a camera, and I knew I was 2 days. And then I've trailed to, quite a few little kills, and there I figured I was at least 2 days behind. And I think that's one of the problems in this country. A lot of people don't realize that you can trail and track and in places.
mm-hmm.
And then in places you can't trail a fresh
Sure.
track.
Right.
So it keeps you kind of confused.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a game of
Yeah. But I
it's like
haven't,
a strategy game.
I haven't caught that many lions. I always tell everybody the same thing. Said, I've got to hunt more than a lot of people, but I still haven't got to hunt enough to be real good at it. And I mean, not like the guys who get up every Monday morning. That's what they're going to do. They're going to go hunt all week.
Not like old George down there in Virginia.
George, he catches a lot of bears, don't he?
Oh yeah, I want to ask
about videos. What's that?
Oh no, what you said talking about videos?
Oh, he was talking about making videos, and he hadn't put out a video for a while. And I said, "What are you waiting for bear season to start again so you start hunting?" He said, "Yeah, I guess so." And I said, "You don't have any more footage or anything?" He said, "Oh yeah, I've got like videos of us catching like 33 bears." I said, "Well, what in the world are you waiting for? Put them up so we can watch them."
I know. I'm like, man, maybe I'll just give up, just quit my whole life here. I'm gonna move down to Virginia with George. Just have him adopt me. Probably wouldn't be a bad life. Yeah, I bet my dogs would run a bear. I don't know if they've ever have here. They're not supposed to, but I don't know. They like chasing stuff. I bet they'd chase a bear.
Oh yeah, big stinky bear.
Oh yeah.
They might chase one until they get him caught, and that's the difference between a good bear dog and just a. Well, yeah, and then a bear turns around. Yeah, he's got a set of teeth and some claws, and he's not going to climb.
Yeah,
that's when a real bear dog comes in handy.
Right.
Something that'll work. A few of them, 3 or 4 of them, that'll work that bear and make him climb a tree.
Now,
or at least get him to stop and bay up?
Right. Do you run many bears these days, or are you just strictly lions?
No, I don't. I try. Well, down here where I've been for the last 5 years in this desert, there's no bears.
Oh, but okay.
I have gone up into some country where there are bears. Now, my female dogs, they will not run a bear. They won't run a bear. Those male I got, they run just about anything if I don't watch them.
Oh yeah.
and when I was up there in the mountains, I caught a few bears, and nobody else hunted that country because it was so rough. You there was no roads. It was all muleback or horseback. And I had a dog that came from Riley Miller that was a big old red tick hound, and his daddy was a registered hard time dog, and then his mama was that laser female that came out of Canada. And originally those dogs came from the Lee brothers. Oh, wow. And anyway, he was a bear dog. Now this dog, and I caught bears when I had him, and I thought, this is easy. And then he died, and those other dogs I had, they weren't bear dogs, because after he died, we ran a lot of bears, but we didn't catch any bears.
Gotcha.
We caught a couple, but not like when I had Hoover.
Huh.
I mean, Hoover would make one stop.
Right. They just put so much pressure on them that they're just not afraid.
Work them instead of just 20 yards behind the hoo-hoo.
Right. Yeah, I know. I've asked my mentor. I'm like, have your bobcat dogs ever gotten on a bear? And he just was like, these little pussy bobcat dogs, they don't want anything to do with a bear. Like they would just roll over and die if they saw one. That's pretty funny.
Bear turns around, starts popping those jaws and running at them. Yeah. And that's when you figure out if you got bear dogs or not.
Right. I know. You see some of those videos of like, the bear starts coming down the tree and all the dogs just start like, oh man, it's a whole like different definition of what a tree dog is, like being able to keep a bear in a tree, man.
I seen that video. I think it's Kurt Price. He used to be with the Untamed. That YouTube video, and they had that dog. I think it was that was riding that bear was climbing the tree, and the dog had a hold of his hind end and went up about 10 yards in that tree. That's pretty
So
cool.
crazy, man. Yeah, that'll get your blood pumping.
I sure wouldn't mind running them if I was in a place where where you could get around a little bit better.
Sure.
And I had bear dogs. I mean,
Yeah, I know. I thought about that too. Like if it was, if bear hunting was legal here, with hounds in Oregon, I mean, it looks like a blast. It just looks like
oh, yeah.
high adrenaline. I would probably get really into that if I was in a better place for it. But
Oh yeah.
Okay, kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you about. So you've recently had a couple litters of puppies, and you're doing something kind of interesting. Now your dogs are what you call pot licker dogs. Is that right?
Pot lickers, yeah.
What does that mean? Because I feel like I kind of understand. I don't know if anyone's ever explained to me, like, why do you call them pot lickers?
I don't know. I think it's just the old fashioned porch dogs, that long-eared hounds that were pot lickers,
Okay.
Some hillbilly guy had a couple hounds out in the backyard that he hunted with, and they licked pots. I don't know. But it's not like these dogs that we're experimenting with. Cody King probably has as good of running walkers as anybody around.
Mm-hmm.
And he catches lots of bobcats, and he goes and catches some lions too. And so we tried to. I got one dog named Jack that's half out of his best male dog, and out of a blue tick that he got out of Colorado.
Okay.
And Jack has a full sister that is with this man down in Mexico that's an old-time lion hunter. And that old man likes that dog so well, they tried to buy Jack. Cody would give him to me. Cody called me and said, "Hey, he'll give you $2,500 for Jack right now." And he was just a pup, and I said, "No, I think I'll keep him. I like him." And
now I'm going to keep him even more.
Yeah, and Jack, he's not quite as inclined to cold trail as good as my dogs yet, but he's starting to do a lot better.
Okay.
But man, when things get going, he's on the ball, and he's one of these dogs that don't think about nothing else. When you get him out of the pen, and he don't run around smelling other dogs' hind ends or anything like that. He's hunting.
Nice.
I mean, he's looking for something.
Gotcha.
And
that's
so
cool.
he's a real nice dog. So I bred him to P.
Oh, wow.
Which is my best cold trailing dog.
Oh, man.
And so I bred him to P, and I kept everything except one. One of them went down to Texas. So I kept Suki, Sugar, Apollo, and Pete.
Okay.
Got all four of those dogs.
Nice.
And the one pup named Dottie, she went down to Texas to a friend of mine. Me and him traded some dogs. He's got some really good dry lion dogs.
Okay.
And he gave me a male dog that's out of some old-fashioned stuff that goes all the way back to Henry McIntyre's Newt dog, which was one of the best lion hounds around. Okay. Anyway, so then because I'm getting a little age on me, I wanted to speed this process along.
Sure.
Suki and Suga are the females, and I bred Al, which is probably, he's making as good a dog as I've ever had. And he's still, I haven't had him on enough lions to have him, just right. But I love the way he trails.
Gotcha.
He cold trails the rest of the dogs, but he moves it a lot faster, a lot better than the other dogs, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, I bred Al to Suki, because Suki was my favorite of those two females. Well, Al being Al, he wanted his Suki's sister too, so dug across and got. Not only did he breed Suki, he bred Suga in the next pen over.
Oh man, he's a player.
So I had 2 litters of pups. Yeah, so I had 2 litters of pups. Yeah, he's a player.
That's
so
awesome.
I had 2 litters of pups, bred exactly the same way, just 2 different females.
Wow, interesting.
And, so they all go back to Booger, and seeing Al is out of Booger and Jazz. And Jazz it came from Benny Griffith and Larry Hendricks and Mike Leonard. So Jazz is an older female that I got. And now after P had this last litter of pups, I had her spayed. I took her down, got her spayed.
Oh, okay.
She's already 9 years old, so I got her spayed.
Cool.
So I'm hoping these pups.
Not even worry about it, just keep hunting.
Yeah, so I got several. I've sold several of them, and I've got some others that I got to deliver, but I still have some left. If anybody out there wants a piece of this, I got pup.
Right on.
Contact me. My email will be in the description down below.
All right, we'll put it there.
I'll sell some pups on your podcast.
There we go. I'll help you sell some puppies. Hey, I would try to buy one off you if I had room.
I'll probably sell Pete too, but I need to do a little bit more work with him to make sure, because he's already, he's going to be coming, I forget how old he is, but I need to sell him, but I need more work with him. I won't get rid of an older dog that's not working. I mean, sure. I just won't do that. Okay. And now beasts, you don't ever know. You're buying into the bloodline is what you're doing, and you know, the odds are to make good dogs, but you never know for sure.
Of course. Now, okay, so you introduced the running walker, and so what is the goal of that? You kind of talked about it, but like, what are you hoping to get out of those crosses?
Man, if you could get one that would cold trail like P and yet pick their head up and run like Jack, that's kind of the goal.
Okay.
I don't know. You probably,
yeah.
If you can get both of that in the same dog, I don't know. And that's just kind of what you're looking at. But you might have out of that litter, you might have two that cold trail like P, and then a couple that would cold like that, but will pick their head up and run. I don't know. And P was a lot better when she was younger. She was a little more a lot faster. Really, she was more apt to pick her head up and go. But there's nothing that trails like her. I'll guarantee you. I mean, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's
how old are these pups?
Where
now?
I went with it. These pups are 10, 12 weeks old.
Okay, cool. So little tiny pups.
Yeah.
Probably causing all kinds of ruckus around the Brett Vaughn household.
My grandson doesn't have it. He graduated from high school a year or two ago, and he works for me now. And he's my
cool.
He's my kennel boy.
Oh,
he's good with the dog. I mean,
that's awesome.
He works with them, and the older dogs like Pete and all them. He's puts them on a long line. Make sure I got a video somewhere. I need to publish it. Show. I get back from somewhere, and those dogs, they just all go line up in front of their gates at their kennel to get in.
That's awesome.
And they all load up. They come when called, and Leighton starts working with them when they're little. And cool. Like these puppies, he goes and he does things like he'll hide a Vienna sausage somewhere outside and take 2 or 3 pups out, and they go to looking for it. They start using their nose and figure out how to find stuff, and it's pretty cool. That's
awesome. I love puppies. I love working with puppies. That's probably my favorite.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite part of all of this is I had that litter from Cooley last year, and man, I loved other than the crap I actually raised them until they were about 8 weeks old. I had them in our spare bedroom, and just last weekend, I had to rip all that carpet out because they just destroyed it. But other than all that, I love puppies to no end. It's my favorite part about it. But cool. Well, know what?
But I like to. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, last year I watched your video where you did some scent drag work with you were like flying a drone overhead and you did, I think you put the scent on your shoes and then did some.
Well, I've done some of that too.
Cat scent work.
I didn't know I published that video.
I watched it.
I experimented with that. Put some horn wraps that I used to have open stairs. I strapped them on my foot and put some scent.
Oh yeah,
drags. Yeah. And then but I don't think I published the one where I used the drone to make a drag. And because I'm trying to eliminate I was trying to eliminate my scent
Of course. Yeah, that's a
from
hard
being
thing to do.
with the lion scent.
Sure.
So what I did is I tied a string to my drone and wadded up a rag and put lion scent on the rag, and then flew my drone and drug that scent
Huh.
along the ground and down through some rocks and up an arroyo and everything,
That's
and
awesome.
ran the dogs on it.
How'd that
The
work?
fun thing about that, it worked good. It worked good. I'm not totally convinced that that scent really smells like a lion.
Sure.
I don't know. I go back and forth with it because Booger won't hardly run it.
Mm-hmm.
Booger just looks at me like, "Oh, boss, you're trying to set me up on something."
Yeah.
But he'll run it, and then a lot of those females they'll just trail it like crazy.
Nice.
So I don't know. I don't know. They say it's made up of it's the gras scent.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be made up of glands from a lion, and it stinks. I know that. Half the time I could trail it.
Yeah. I got that same. W sells it. It's bobcat scent, but it's the same stuff. It's basically like their glands, just all like ground up, I think. But same thing. Like I had that old dog Whiskey, who she's been on hundreds and hundreds of cats, and she wanted nothing to do with it. So I'm like, I still think it's good to get them, get them into the routine of trailing something, but I don't think it's this realistic.
Well, I mean, after all these years, I've thought about it quite a bit. You spend a lot of I spend a lot of time with my dogs on the ground. That's the way I hunt. I go out and I put my
Yeah.
dogs on the ground. Like this morning, I had 8 dogs out and I hiked a big old circle out there behind the house. You get to and I do things with my dogs. I take them by name, and when I'm out there a couple times, I call each one to me and pet them on the head just to make sure they understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing with the trailing, with the using the scent. You can talk the dogs into trailing it, and you can use it as a way to improve your communication with your dog.
Ah.
And if that makes sense to
Yep.
anybody, I mean,
Absolutely.
because you can talk them into that and say, hey, here it is, and then they want to trail it. And
Sure.
then you're opening up some communication with the dog, and those dogs read you, they know. So
Yep.
then you're riding down the canyon or something, and you a big old lion track, and they're not paying that much attention to it, then you can say, hey, guys, here it is. And they get a little more excited. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
start playing just a little bit harder or something. Or you're going down through there and there's a javelina track or a coyote track, and they're wanting to trail it. And you're,
Mm-hmm.
hey, guys, get away from that.
Right.
Just all that time you get to spend out with them and having that communication, that it just, that much easier.
Nice. Yeah, and like with the scent, doing your own scent drags, it's like it's a little more of a controlled environment. You know exactly where you put that scent, so then you can, if you do see like a deer track or whatever. I like that. Yeah, I only did a little bit with them. I would do more like I do like hot dog drags, kind of like what you said I think you said your nephew was doing with the pups, but yeah, man, good stuff. I think that's probably a good place to end it. Anything else you want to add?
I also had a big old yellow tomcat that used to hang around the house quite a bit.
Oh.
And I had a big old cage, and he was that, and I would take him out and feed him in that cage, and then go hang him up in a mesquite tree, in that cage. Just take the pups for a walk. Just let them find him, just walk them around that mesquite until they find him. Then they go treeing on him and pet him up and everything, and I'd go turn him loose. I wouldn't let them do anything else with him.
Yeah.
And
That's funny.
the old cat got where he's so smart that I'd take him out, and he'd just go to put him in the cage, and he'd go hide underneath my buggy and wouldn't let me catch him. But
it's like, I know what you're up to. He's like, I'll take the meal, but leave me alone.
Yeah.
Awesome, Brett. Well, thanks for coming on.
Cool. Well, thank you. I need it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Good chat.
Usually I'm the one asking people questions.
I know. Yep. How the turntables.
So cool.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So everybody needs to get on the Interviews, Stories, and Tales YouTube channel for the Monday night live streams. And then when do you publish? Do you have like a set day when you publish on Born 100 Years Too Late?
No. I I've how do I put this? I've had a few health problems here lately,
Mm,
and that channel is all about me going out, staying out, in some remote places and stuff.
right.
And when I was with the doctor and my wife with me, my wife heard the doctor say, "Yeah, you don't need to be getting out like that. You don't need to be
Mm.
getting out of socket. Stay
Oh
close to
man.
the house or whatever."
Man.
So,
Well,
and she heard it. So I haven't been able to get out. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably do a live stream again on my Born 100 Years Too Late, because
okay, cool.
I got a lot of guys who kind of follow that, and I can answer some questions and do some things like that.
Sure.
And then again on Any Stories and Tales, we'll have a live stream on Monday night,
Yep.
and then I'm gonna have another Dale Lee CD published probably Saturday, maybe Sunday, and yeah, and I
Cool.
might work on that on the video of the dogs, the training the dogs and stuff. That I got a bunch of that video. I need to share it with people, I guess.
Cool. Hey, I love that kind of stuff. So yeah, put it out. Awesome.
Uh,
All right. Well,
I'm a slow
yeah,
editor.
it's all good. Hey, we all go at our own pace. I'm also a slow editor. I end up getting, man, sometimes I'm just like, I just need to publish it and not even edit it at all. But it's hard when
That's
you're,
and
it,
I hired a guy. I hired a young guy that's helping me edit, and he's really
okay.
good and he's really fast, but I can't afford him all the time.
Oh, sure.
So I kind of have to pace. I have to pace myself with him.
Right, right, right. Nice.
So
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll see everybody next time on Hound on the Run. Wait, what do you
onward and
say?
upward, boys.
Onward, yeah, onward and upward.
Onward and upward.